And that clip is from the documentary Imagine a Future. The film looks at the definition of black beauty and how one young girl comes to understand and accept her type of beauty. Academy Award nominated filmmaker Lisa Cortés is the producer and also the co-director of the film. Thank you, Lisa, for being with us here today. And Michaela, we saw you in the film as well. This is such a beautiful, beautiful film. You follow Janet Goldsboro, who is from Delaware. How did you find her, and how did her story evolve?
We were having creative sessions talking about how to realize this project. I was in a meeting with Beverly Bond, the founder of Black Girls Rock, and she told me about Jeanette and her story. And I knew that I wanted to take a young person on a journey. And when I heard about Jeanette, I thought she has come through things, she's asking herself the right questions, and she is open to just all that we wanted to expose her to.
What was kind of heartbreaking for me in watching it is hearing her talk about the criticism that she was hearing from her own family, talking about how her family criticized her because of her darker complexion, because of her features, boys at school, discussing wanting to be with lighter-skinned girls. I mean, this is something that I feel like I certainly heard that and felt that way when I was younger, and it doesn't seem to be going away.
It's not. It's amplified. A lot of the messaging that we see reinforces that type of unacceptable behavior. The thing is, Jeanette's parents, her younger brother and sister, her older brother, are fantastic and are loving, but they didn't know about some of the things that she was experiencing because she felt uncomfortable sharing it.
But I think the new conversation is, and I'm optimistic, I think it is changing because now we're having conversations about it. And she was so brave and so authentic and so real with it because I think a lot of us have experienced it. I experienced it in reverse because I was so light and I was so blonde. I was often separated from the rest of my family. Unbeknownst to other family members that I was getting preferential treatment because I was blonde. Right?
Sure.
So anything that separates us as sisters, as family, is hurtful. So what I love about Imagine a Future is that it is a full journey. It's not just, oh, the poor dark girl, oh, I've been hurt, oh, you know, the boys didn't like me. She has an evolution, and we all have to have evolutions with whatever our challenges are. But you leave feeling inspired and hopeful, and watching her stand in her own self. That's the new conversation, not just comparing pain, right?
And this is part of a 3-year initiative to reach 1 million girls. It's part of the Procter & Gamble's My Black is Beautiful campaign.
They started this initiative last year. Their community partners are Black Girls Rock and the United Negro College Fund. And it was started, My Black is Beautiful started with a group of sisters at Procter & Gamble 7 years ago. Wow. And what I love about this project is not only the story and the voices that we share on camera, but the power of sisters behind the scenes. You know, the sisters who created this project, my other director, Shala Lynch, Beverly Bond, the ladies from the agency who brought this all together, the women at Procter & Gamble and My Black is Beautiful. And I love how we are using our place within this spectrum of creating content and engaging with our community to make these dollars work for us to help our young sisters.
And have the conversation. What was it like for you watching and filming Jeanette and also seeing her blossom and grow? Because you went a few places with her.
Well, you know, the first time I met Jeanette was at her home in Dover, Delaware, and I met her and her family, you know, the very first day of shooting. She disclosed so much in the initial interviews. Then we all go out to South Africa. We have a bunch of 9 incredible sisters. Our DP is a woman, you know, as a sister also. So we all go off to Africa to begin this journey. And little by little, Jeanette would be sitting at dinner, and she'd ask us this question, and she'd make a comment, and you could see the blossoming.
You could see her coming into her own.
Yes.
Yeah. When I was watching the documentary, I thought, one, I was fascinated by the fact that they had bleaching creams being sold at the market on the street, but also the history that she learned, particularly about Sarah Baartman.
Well, you know, when we had the meeting with Procter & Gamble and My Black is Beautiful to talk about what we wanted to touch upon, they said, you know, we want there to be the dark side of our story. We want it to be inspirational. And I thought, you know what, we've seen this story told in America many times. Let's expand it. Let's have a conversation in a different place, but also in a place where we have a lot of commonality with our sisters there, with our sisters who are in Dakar, our sisters who are in Paris, to show that these issues and this lack of representation affects us globally, because I think that's a part of the conversation that we have not looked at, the historical, you know, repercussions of slavery, racism, etc. But in terms of being in South Africa, you know, it just, and Sarah Baartman, that was the lens to look at what happens to our black body in Western culture. Yeah. But then to balance it out with a trip to the cradle of humankind, to look at the beginning of humankind and the role that black women provided in that foundation.
And we're looking at images of Sarah, who was referred to as Venus Hottentot, and was toured around Europe, and eventually her remains were eventually returned to South Africa, where she was given a proper burial. But in telling her story, there were so many parallel stories, I felt like, that were being played out today, which is this balance between Western culture being kind of in awe and mystified by our looks and our beauty and our difference, and at the same time, us kind of struggling to define what we believe is beautiful.
It's still all about the booty, right? It started with the booty, ended the booty. But also what was, you know, that whole South Africa trip was such a turning point, but also to see that we were the beginning of this human species, that black women were the jump off, right? So that the balance of those two, like, it was, you know, it was a heartbreaking story, but then it has this other end of it. And that's what I so appreciate about this project. It has dimension and spectrum, and not just drilling down into, you know, where we're broken, right? It's also where knowing your history can be part of your healing, and then you can get on and be Jeanette that you were meant to be.
And be part of your power, too.
Exactly.
Because I think if you know the root cause of where some of the discrimination and kind of narrow-mindedness comes from, it kind of helps put everything else
and just also part
perspective.
of our history, how we stand on some also really strong shoulders. Just for her to see you as a producer, a director, a DP, a writer. Often our girls don't see black women doing these amazing things, and particularly, and I was even struck when I went to go do my interview, every hand I shook was a black woman, from the executive to the makeup artist to the DP, to also see us be sisters and making something happen. Powerful.
And we have quite a few familiar voices that are in the documentary. Gabourey Sidibe, who you obviously worked with on Precious, talking about how her black is beautiful. And also, of course, Michaela Angela Davis. I was really fascinated to hear Gabby Douglas's story. And she had a commentary about a coach, I think it was a coach or someone who had recommended that she get a nose job.
Yeah. Well, you know, we were so blessed that everyone that we had on our wish list of influencers, like Michaela right here, that we reached out to, agreed to participate. These ladies are like the Greek chorus, because they're echoing.
Say no to you and Shala and Beverly Bob. Like, there's no way.
But you guys are goddesses. Yeah, the goddesses.
Take it, take the compliment. Take it and run.
You know.
But when I tell you, when that trifecta calls, you show
You
up.
answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, we could have done a whole, you know, we had to keep saying, we have too much Michaela, we have to cut back, we have to cut back. But, you know, When we reached out to so many of the ladies who were involved, everyone said yes. It was on our wish list.
That's awesome.
And what I love is that as Jeanette is going through, like, okay, my moments of self-doubt, this is when I learned how to change the story.
Yeah.
This is what I do to inspire myself. All of these ladies also had similar stories. And so we show that whether you are young Jeanette Goldsboro from Dover, Delaware, you are an Olympiad, you are a fashionista, image activist of the world, that we have all experienced these moments and have found a way, but are still working
Yes.
on ways to combat and to create the right kind of mirrors that we need to have.
And I like that, that reference in particular, mirrors, the things that we need to be looking at that reflect who we are, right? That reflect the diversity of who we are and the beauty of who we are. And the title is so beautiful, too. Imagine a future. Obviously, the question is, imagine a future when we as black women really owned our beauty and owned our power and weren't necessarily looking to others to define it. Where do you go from here? I know it debuts later this week.
So July 5th, 10 p.m. Eastern Time and 9 p.m. Central Time, BET, and July 6th at 9 p.m. on Centric. Then it will be followed with YouTube release. We're going to be doing some work actually throughout the world to showcase the film. You know, looking to continue to tell these stories that I've been obsessed with all of my respective careers of just, you know, showing and dazzling the world with the amazing spectrum of who we are and who we can be.
And you know, after the film, we do a talk back. So I'm going to be talking to Lisa and Shala and Beverly Bond and the amazing Jeanette and two of her girls. I think that they were the best interviews, and some of the executives. So after the film airs, right after it, you get to see all the participants in the film, and they share what the experience was like. So we do a little talk back, a girl talk.
Yeah, well,
afterwards.
I hope Jeanette is not questioning her beauty, because she is
she
a beautiful woman.
owning it.
She should never question it again.
I pretty much gave her the mic. I was like, you know what, you got this.
Yeah.
She's so inspiring. The world is gonna love Jeanette.
All right, thank you so much, Lisa Cortés, producer and director of the film Imagine a Future. You absolutely don't want to miss it. And you are watching Our Take.